Hello you guys, happy Tuesday. Today is October 10th. Yesterday was Columbus Day and we did get the day off. I was very appreciative for that. I used it for some catching up on work as well as relaxing a bit and some family stuff. And Jake and I went to downtown Chicago for a little fun, I guess, post-birthday thing. We had a really nice time. But anyway, we're back in the game. This week is a very short week because we have parent-teacher conferences. So therefore my goal also this week is parent communication, in a couple layers. Tonight, before I go to bed, I am gonna be sending an email to all the parents, and I've introduced myself, but kind of do an update for what's been happening the last few weeks, as well as reminding them about parent-teacher conferences. I'm gonna have my students give them the option of doing student-led conferences, which I'll link below what I've done in the past or what I've used in the past for those. I have found student-led conferences to be really effective, and I think it's so great when the student actually is able to show up to their own conference. They can be part of that experience if possible and be able to kind of have more of a say into what's going on and be more upfront about what their behavior is like in class or what their academic performance is. I think it's just more direct having them there. So I'll be talking about that in the email, and then I'll be hopefully doing a couple phone calls on Wednesday, maybe Thursday, but Thursday and Friday are the conferences themselves. So Thursday in the evening and then Friday in the morning. We do not have any students on Friday. It is just conferences. So that's kind of what we'll be doing. So I am very interested to see what the conference situation is like. Obviously it's a new school, so things are a little bit different for me, but that's kind of what's coming up. They feel a little earlier to me, but I think it will be good to touch base with people, and it's basically right with their progress reports coming out. It's about halfway through our first trimester. So anyway, that being said, in social studies today, we were working on some ways to improve our DBQ writing. I do have pretty high standards when it comes to writing, and I feel like I was really lucky to receive some really great teaching on how to improve writing. I want to be the same thing. I want to do the same thing for them. So I put together kind of a little sheet here. This is not fancy at all. I just did this on Google Docs. But looking at how we break down the different parts of a writing assignment and techniques for them to use to help improve their skills, etc. So I'm very excited. We did the growth mindset thing previously, deciding what skills they felt like they could do right now or not yet, they needed to work on some more. But with this document here, we were looking at some skills on writing a thesis statement, making sure we're answering the question that is asked of us, and preparing for like how you plan which documents you're gonna use. So that's really all we got done today, but tomorrow we're gonna be continuing that and working on the evidence and explanation and really using evidence-based writing. I think this is something that I really care about because I want to make sure they're able to do this. Obviously it fits with all of the standards as well, but I've been very lucky. My writing abilities have helped me a lot. Now also, kind of in related terms, this was just a little AFT, like teacher union magazine that came out. And there was actually a really interesting article. It said the challenge that's bigger than fake news. And I'll actually link below some resources from, it was Stanford History Education Group that was talking about this, but how students have a really challenging time being able to identify credible sources versus not credible sources, and also kind of having some deeper level thinking about like what makes these sources positive and negative. Because with, you know, the fake news concept and with all the information available for us, it's very easy to kind of think, okay, well if it's this, it's credible, if it's this, it's not credible. But there's a lot of kind of sneaky stuff that's sort of tricking kids. So for example, they found that from, you know, middle school, maybe even from elementary school through like older students, if there were graphs or charts or statistics, the students often thought that it was real or that it was a credible source. But you have to kind of look at who's behind it, and it was very much maybe a sponsored post of something. So there's a lot of sneaky ways. I'm not really giving it justice right now, but I'll link the full article down below if you're curious. But it gave me some ideas. I don't have an exact application just yet, but basically I was thinking about what are the three big questions here that it talked about, and it said, who's behind the information that's being presented? So I think kind of identifying point of view is important. evaluating the actual evidence that's presented. Is this credible? What can we learn from this? And what do other sources say about the topic? That could be a great way to sort of check base and see what kind of source it is. So I'm thinking it would be cool. I haven't set up an exact unit for this yet, but thinking about future units, to have a variety of sources, and students have to kind of go through and grade them or rate them. And maybe it's a station activity around the room, maybe they are working in partners, and then we'll go over them as a class, something like that. But I feel like that could be really beneficial. So I enjoyed that. Another update here, I'm doing my Student of the Day activity that I just started. Now with this, my whole goal is that basically I'm having trouble with discipline and like classroom management. Everyone's so talkative, and not everyone. Many students are very talkative, and it depends on the day. For example, today, my first and second hour were awesome, and my third and fourth hour were very talkative. And I know I'm not the person who's, you know, just like iron fist, like that's just not me. I am getting to the point too where there's more parent communication, and there are gonna be more consequences, but I'm still trying to go from more of the positive angle. So we have like our little gotcha slips, which are these PBIS cards for when we see kids doing good things. We have that still, but I wanted to take it up a notch and also make it more kind of generic, and also try to build relationships. So I talked last time about my Student of the Day thing. Now, I don't know if my 8th graders are partially too old for this, but I put together, so basically I went through, I have popsicle sticks for every class. I went through them and divide them up. Basically, from now until November is when we can get through all the students. And if you're the Student of the Day, basically you get this little thing that sits on your desk. It's not that fancy. Literally, I just wrote Student of the Day. So I'll maybe improve this a little bit, but they can have this sitting on their desk. And then I write them a very quick thank you note. So these are the ones I wrote for the kids tomorrow. So they are very generic, but based on my personal experience in class. So this student, I wrote, "Thank you for your consistent hard work in class and for being a kind person." This student, I wrote, "Thank you for bringing your positive energy and attitude to class." Similar thing for this student. This student, "Thank you for always being so kind and friendly in class." So with this, I'm hoping that they enjoy receiving that, and also when it's their Student of the Day, they get to do one of 5 things. They get to ask the class a question, like a fun get to know you type question. What's your favorite color, favorite animal, etc. They can share a favorite quote of theirs. They can tell us some good news about their life. They can play the game 2 Truths and a Lie, where they're talking about themselves, 2 things that are true, 1 thing that's false, and we have to guess as a class to get to know them better. Or they can give a compliment to another student. And so I think since it was just the first day today, some of them were a little like not wanting to do that. But in 2 of the classes we did 2 Truths and a Lie, and then I think the other 2 were compliments. So overall, it seemed to be a good first day of it, and it's completely random. So I'm hoping that as we go through this not only helps me build relationships a little bit, because I feel like if I don't make time for it, it's not gonna happen like in a consistent way. Like obviously little moments happen here and there, but I want to make sure these moments are happening. And then also just so that the students know that I value them, like I'm hoping with these little thank you notes, even though it's small things, I hope that they know that they do matter. I genuinely care about them, even though they frustrate me with the level of chatter, mostly just because it pushes us behind, and I feel like it's such a rush to get things done, especially like more so with the social studies part. Just doing a half hour of social studies per day is kind of strange, when last school I was doing 80 minutes a day. But regardless, that's something I'm doing. I'll continue to give more updates about how it goes, but that's just kind of an intro thing with that one. So I'm not sure how long I'm gonna stay. It's about 4:30 at this point. I'm gonna try to get some more grades in because progress reports get printed tomorrow, but I also might do that at home. So we'll see, but I will check in with you guys later. So one thing I'm really excited to show you is I now have 3 loaner Chromebooks that I can use with my students. I had one before, but basically if students had Chromebooks that were broken, then I only had one, so they would just have to do paper copies. But now having 3 makes my life a lot easier. I just have to figure out a good setup for charging these. And these are heavier to move one-handed than I thought. Hello everyone, and happy Wednesday. I am just having lunch right now. I feel very proud of myself. I actually meal prepped last night for the rest of the week. Not that there's that much week left, but I made this massaman curry. It's a Thai curry with some brown rice, and it is so good. I've got some carrots, potatoes, onion, tofu, and a bunch of spices, and garlic, and some brown rice, and it is super delicious. It was dinner last night, and then will be lunches for the next few days. I have had a really great day. You know, it's so funny, certain days you're not necessarily sure how they'll go, more positive or negative, but today was awesome. Most of the classes did a really nice job. We were kind of going over more of their DBQ writing that they've been doing in the past, and going through specific ways to make it better. I do want to have it be more formal and organized, and so I might try to put together kind of a product of some sort that shows all the different steps that I'm doing with them and have it all bundled up nice and easy. But regardless, in the meantime, I'm kind of just putting together different materials that I feel like are benefiting my students, and so far they seem to be really responding well to the structure, and I think it's just something that maybe they haven't really been taught too much before, so I'm excited to be working with them as well. I do have my post-conference from my observation a week and a half ago to have that during my planning time today, and I will hear about how the evaluation went. But all in all, today is a really great day and just kind of working on the same stuff. Hello again, you guys. So one big grading update that I'm very excited about, because you know I'm always talking about being behind on grading, and I really am finding, and this is just coming from where I taught before, I have to be a lot more on top of grades. In the past, I taught 4 different subjects, but I had tops 40 students, sometimes just 20 students in each subject. And so here, the grading, I need to be a lot more prepared and keep track of things, because before you know it, if they've got homework every day for Spanish and other activities we're doing, there are several grades each day multiplied by 110, 120, depending on if it's Spanish or social studies. And that is a lot of grades, and so that is something I'm getting used to and working on. But I'm very excited because I came up with a new method today, and it cut our time spent on homework down a lot. Now typically my grading philosophy, even though I still struggle to keep up with it, the idea is I only collect homework I absolutely must, or I only collect things that there is a reason I'm collecting them. Because if I just collect their homework every day, first of all, it's too much for me. I can't do it. With 120, I'm not going to be able to provide meaningful feedback on every single thing. Plus, you have the time it takes to pass back the assignments. Plus, since there is a delay at least of 1 day getting the assignment back to the student, it might be, you know, they might forget about it, or they might not care about it by the time it actually comes back. And they maybe don't learn from it as much if they can't just correct their mistakes right in that immediate moment. So those are all reasons I try to avoid collecting homework unless it's an absolute must. Obviously assessments and those things are more important. So one thing that's helped me is I keep a clipboard that has a checklist with a few things on it. I have this chart with names on it. It has everyone's name on it, all my students from all 4 classes. There's 8 columns here. It has a name and then a space. And so for each assignment that I do, I go through and I mark it. And I bring the clipboard around the room with me and mark down what kids have done for the homework. For me, it's mostly completion. We do a few days here and there of accuracy, but especially for Spanish, since that's mostly what it is, I want them to be showing that they're practicing and using the homework to actually like build the skills. So I do this, and then when it is time to plug it in the grade book, I can do it a lot more quickly because I can just plug through the numbers, enter, 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 and that helps. But I had a better idea. Plus also, one thing I was getting annoyed with is that not all kids were getting their homework out right away like I wanted them to, and how I would ask, because getting through that first part there is relatively a slow part, and sometimes that takes up like 10-15 minutes going through our bell ringer, going through the homework, me checking it, walking around, and it was just getting too slow. So today what I tried is I actually said, you know what? You guys are gonna come over here and check your homework into me. And with that, I have a spot for them to line up. I just had a clipboard sheet. I had my clipboard here ready to go, but in the future, I'm just going to put it directly into the computer right away. And it went so fast, maybe 2 minutes to get the whole class homework checked. I mean, I usually do like a thorough glance. It's a good like 2 seconds. I'll look at a kid's paper just to make sure they're not writing down garbage that doesn't make sense and that they're not just trying to make it look like they did work that they actually didn't do. Obviously, I never know the full story. Some students maybe could get away with things behind the scenes, but regardless, that is the new approach. And the beauty is, if I get it in the grade book right away, then it's there immediately, and I don't have to go back and do it later. So trying to minimize that time, make it as easy as possible, and how perfect that the kids get immediate feedback on that in their grade, because they're always like, oh, what's my grade? Like, how am I doing right now? And their progress reports come out tomorrow. I have to stuff those later tonight. But basically, those are all ways that I'm trying to optimize this grading. So I'm pretty excited. I'm gonna be doing it for all classes tomorrow. Today was just like a trial run, and it went really well. So I'm very excited to see how this goes. We'll be checking in with you guys a little bit later, but tonight I have a Twitter Ed chat, and with these, our school does have a large focus with Twitter, and the Ed chats are some different questions. I'm gonna try to put this over here while I get ready to go. But basically, for us, our school has a big Twitter focus, and I think I've talked about them a little bit. Basically, there are questions that are asked about education, ways that you can, like, they're good questions to kind of like reflect on and that sort of thing. All right, let's see if I can actually balance this while I'm walking out of the building. But basically, we get to answer different like questions and prompts with teaching. There's always a theme. My school is very active. I'm actually hosting one next week, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm a little nervous because I'm the only one doing it. Ooh, that's dark. So this will be a first angle with the car vlog. I was gonna vlog on my walk out to the car, but then it turned out that it was raining and I didn't want to get my camera wet. So anyway, as I was saying, with these Twitter Ed chats, basically it's a chance for educators anywhere who have like teacher or educational Twitters to answer and reflect about a variety of topics. And I feel like they're pretty fun. I'm hosting one next week, which I think should go well. I'm actually doing kind of like a cooking theme because I really enjoy cooking. Everyone's kind of doing a theme for some sort of hobby that they have. And I am a little nervous because I'll be doing it by myself. I know it's a little ambitious. I know the director of these was a little surprised, I think, but really excited about me jumping on as a new teacher in the district by myself. But I feel like I've got a good handle on it, and I do have experience at least working on building my businesses, both Mr. and Mrs. Social Studies as well as my Abundantly Minimal one. So I've used a lot of the tools already. I don't really do that much with Twitter. But the education stuff's getting me a little bit more involved, and it's a cool way for educators to share ideas. So I do think I'll put information, since I'm pretty behind on the vlog editing, I will put some information about them below if you're curious. The Ed chat that I'm hosting will be happening on October 18th at 7 p.m. Central Time, and the hashtag to check what's going on with that is hashtag, actually I'm gonna type the hashtag out right here so you can see, because I don't want to get the wrong one and you're like, where is this? But anyway, I will check in with you guys later. I'm gonna drive home and get home before it gets too dark. Bye guys. So surprise vlog from home. I just felt like right now I'm just in like the power ed pose. Jake's still at cross country, well, finishing stuff up at school. He's got a workshop, but it's 6:59. I showered after I came home. I have some dinner ready. I didn't know Jake wouldn't be home, but chill broccoli, spaghetti, and I've got my tweet deck set up for the Twitter Ed Chat that's happening, and also my stuff set up for the Teacher Pay Teachers copyright webinar. So yeah, it's power night, but I'll touch in with you guys later. Hello you guys, and happy Thursday. It kind of feels like Friday since we have parent-teacher conferences today. It's 4 o'clock, the day was pretty wild and busy, so here we are at this time, and I am very eager to see how these go. I am happy because I think this will jumpstart some good communication with some parents of students who I haven't yet contacted and could benefit from some, just kind of checking in with where their students are at so far now that we're about a sixth of the way through the school year. I did glam up a little bit. I brought some makeup and I brushed my teeth, so I'm all fresh, but basically from 5 to 8, we're gonna be in one of the larger rooms. They've opened up walls between the two, and so my team will be in there, and parents can kind of rotate around to talk to whoever they wish to. I did give my students the option to have a student-led conference for some extra credit. I'll put some links below to the resources that I use, but basically I started doing it last year and found it to be a really positive experience because you get to give some of that kind of control of what you would be doing to the students. I give them a sheet. Let me see, here's some examples. Actually, let me get a blank one. I have a blank one over here that I'll do instead. So this is just part of the guide that I have, and this is like the older version that's not pretty. The link below will be the updated one that's more organized and just a better resource overall. But basically, there is a student reflection part where students reflect on different things about themselves, like their time in class. So how they work in groups, do they stay on task? They're motivated to go above and beyond. Like all those different things are on the chart, and they have to decide, is this something they do never, sometimes, often, or always, and they circle that. Then I have students mark which ones are their top 3 biggest strengths and 3 areas for improvement. So that also helps students kind of narrow it down a little bit more. And it can also, you know, if this kid's giving themselves the same score for everything, it differentiates it a little bit so you can see where they feel like they're stronger and where they want more to do more work. On the back side of this sheet, then I also put a template for a student-led conference. So somewhat of a script, because I know that for middle schoolers, and since we haven't spent a lot of time on this so far, maybe they're a little nervous about it. And they also can go through and it talks about their goals and more about those strengths and areas for improvement, looking at what we've learned so far, things we wish to learn going forward. So with that on this sheet here, we spent about, I think, 15 minutes today working on it. And with those 15 minutes, I then collected these papers and I put them in alphabetical order for each of my classes. Alphabetical order for each of my classes. And when parents show up, or when kids show up, I will pull these out and show them kind of what it looks like. And if the students are there, they can use the paper to help lead the conference if they want the extra credit. Now, for some schools who do student-led conferences, there's a lot of build-up for these. I have not done much build-up, so I'm be curious to see how many students do take me up on the offer. I'm sure there'll be some, but basically giving them more of a leadership role in this. So that's kind of what I'm looking for that. I think it should be a positive time, at least I'm hoping so. And I'm hoping to use this as a springboard for more of my parent communication. I don't know how many parents I'm gonna have, because with 8th grade, I think at that point, there might be some who, at that point, they're not really coming anymore. So we will see. I'm very eager, but in the meantime, I have a little less than an hour, so I am pretty much ready to go because I had the students fill out these sheets, and that's really all I'm going to have there. I'll do a little bit of some grading. I'm always doing some grading, but I'm gonna do a little bit of that later too. Talk to you soon. Bye. All right, guys, so parent-teacher conferences night 1 are done, and it was such a positive experience. I think it really helps having the student-led conferences and having the students take initiative, but also, like, I mean, it helps, I guess, too, that a lot of, you know, the best kids or some of my favorite students are the ones who are showing up to conferences with their parents, but so many meaningful conversations, like I don't know if it's just because I'm such a sap, but honestly, like several of the conversations, like I had like tears in my eyes, just either because of how wonderful the student is or telling examples to their parents of how like they've been very kind to others in class or just even kind to me. I know that sometimes with parent-teacher conferences, people can struggle or face tough situations where there's more negativity in the conference, but just my experience tonight was so positive. Like my heart just feels so full right now, and I just feel so privileged to work where I do what I do, and it's a really great feeling. So I am very happy. It is a little after 8. We are done for the night. I'm gonna be heading out, and then 12 hours later, I'll be back tomorrow for just a half day. So 3 hours of conferences then. I mean, it was moving tonight. Like the time flew by. I had people the entire time just up until the end there. It was very effective. I think I had 37 students and parents combos come tonight. Well, not all the students were there, but most of them were there. And I love having the students there for their conference to be able to tell them. But regardless, it was very sweet, including especially one, he wasn't there, but his mom and I guess younger sister were there. And it was very interesting to kind of hear he's one of the students who I really enjoy having in class. And I was talking about how he's a bit more shy in class, and his mom actually told me about some ways that he was very much like bullied as a younger student. It made me realize too, like he's a student where he's so wonderful, but I haven't taken the extra time to be like, you know what, like I just wanna let you know, like you're doing such a phenomenal job in class. I haven't really had much of a chance for that yet. And so I am definitely gonna make an effort to let him know that, because just like I'm very passionate about telling loved ones in my life, like I love you, and telling them kind of how I feel, I think for students it's so important too, if we're having these things, like let them know that. And that's something I wanna be working on too. So anyway, I still feel like I'm kind of just in an emotional state. It was a really great night. I'm gonna be heading out at this time. I'm hungry, gonna have some dinner, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Hello and happy Friday. It is currently 11:30 and we just finished up conferences this morning. It was a much quieter day of conferences. I think I had about 10 families there, some students, but more so individual parents at this time. But it was another really positive day. It ended up being about half of my students ended up coming to the parent-teacher conferences, which is really great. And I'm very happy, especially some of the ones who showed up that I had wanted to talk to and hopefully help get some of their kids on track. But overall, I'm just feeling so grateful, and it was a really positive experience. If not, maybe like some of my best experiences thus far working here, just building those connections. And I love doing the student-led conferences to hear what the kids say and what they reflect on the class so far. We do have a large population of English language learners at my school, or in the district. And one thing that was just really cool too, that I was able to see a bit in action, is how awesome the kids are at kind of being those translators between English and either Arabic, Polish, Spanish, like those are the most popular languages we have spoken, among others for sure though. And it was just really cool to see kind of just the maturity of how these students have kind of handled that situation. It's a big responsibility, speaking English very well in class and kind of growing up in the school system here, but then parents not necessarily feeling as comfortable and the kids being able to help with that. I just admire that so much, and I enjoy getting to work with students of these different backgrounds, and am just always so interested to hear about people's lives, and so many great kids, honestly. I'm kind of annoyed with how much I feel like I've had some negative talk on these vlogs so far, when in reality, my heart is so full of happiness, and I'm so privileged to work with them. Sorry for getting overly sappy right now, but that's how I'm feeling about it. One thing I did just put together, it's not super fancy, but my Students for Social Studies have been doing simulations about, you know, the Homestead Act, conflict with Native Americans, farmers' alliances in the National Grange, like that kind of stuff. And with the simulation, I feel like it's been very positive and effective, and hopefully I'll have a link below for you if it's ready yet. I hope to get it up very soon on my teacher store if you're curious. And I also, let me know if you're curious about kind of game-based simulations, because this is my second or third one that I've put together. The other two were not as formal, the first ones I did, but I personally love doing game-based simulations in the classroom, because since it's a game, it obviously adds a competitive element. The students are really eager to earn points for different actions and choices that they make. And because of the competitive element, many of them are more engaged than they would be otherwise. It is a simulation, so each round they're acting as like a certain character and trying to make decisions that are best for that particular character. And I have found so far, at least, that even though it seems to be, you know, just more of a fun or entertaining lesson, that they do seem to remember a lot of the content we discuss well. So let me know if you're interested in more of that. I might do a dedicated video about that, because from my experience, it is a more time-consuming lesson to set up. That's for sure. That's not to be avoided. But once you do it once, it's something that is always one of my favorite, highest quality lessons, I feel like, or sets of lessons. I know I'll be selling this particular chapter. It's something that I'd like to do for more chapters as well. I think that I want to still make sure there's a lot of variety with students. I might do it for another chapter later on in the year. This chapter in particular seemed to lend itself well to doing that. But there are a lot of ways you can implement it. If it's a short thing, if it's a longer thing, it's really up to you. I've done things before with early settlers, the Revolutionary War, War of 1812. The wars can be a creative way to do that as well. I love giving students a character or letting them choose a character and, you know, live their life accordingly. I love doing simulations in class too. But regardless, that being said, we are wrapping that up. And so I put together, it looks just like just a basic chart right now, but this is going to be an illustrated review. So what I'm going to have the students do, just for a different type of learning and a more creative assignment, now that we've finished the simulations, to review it, we're going to go back through and they'll want to come up with an illustration for a lot of the different terms or events we talked about. So we talked about mining boom towns, the process of building the railroads, the benefits of the railroads, cattle drives, Homestead Act, conflict with Native Americans, the Dawes Act, economic issues for farmers, and Farmers Alliance. So those are some of the key terms and events we talked about. And so they're gonna want to come up with some sort of visual representation. And we'll probably spend, I think, 2 classes. Granted, our classes are only about a half hour, but probably spend about 2 classes working on those. With these kind of things, like if it's artistic, I think it's cool to help different kinds of learners. I see that there are kids who doodle on the side of their paper, and if I can tap into some of that with content, that's pretty cool. And I'm never like grading them on their artistic ability. I don't make them color it, but just the process of like putting those visuals with the concepts, I think can be helpful, and it forces them to think about things a little bit differently. So that's something we'll be up to next week, as well as sort of wrapping up that particular unit. I'm also super excited because for my Spanish classes, I have decided I'm going to offer, I guess, somewhat of a flipped classroom. I have for a long time thought about the idea of flipping a classroom. It's a very intriguing concept to me. With social studies, with Spanish, I think with Spanish especially, there's more potential. I'm not planning on like actually like full on flipping it 100%, but I'm going to be putting together videos for each of the grammar concepts we do, as well as for our vocabulary words. Because from conferences and from my conversation with students, many of them are doing a great job in getting it. There are some who are struggling, and we are in a tough place since it's 8th grade Spanish. They already had 7th grade Spanish if they were in the district, but a lot of middle schools don't offer Spanish for 7th graders. And so, like I said, I think in a previous episode, I've got about 10 students who never had Spanish before this, and here we're jumping in at like a second part of it. And then also, many just are having a tough time with the grammar. And in a half hour with 25 to 30 kids, it's just not really possible for me to spend the amount of time I need to individually with kids. I want to get more into stations. That's a goal of mine, to do more with stations. But I decide, you know what? I'm going to put together some videos. So far, I think there'd be 5 videos that I'd be doing. I'm hoping that it will help students who are struggling. And the fact that they can always be there, it's tough too, because parents are like, how can we help? What can we do to help them with Spanish if we don't understand it? And there's a ton of great resources online, and honestly, I'm sure a quick YouTube search would yield some great results. I know one channel, Senor Jordan, I've used some of his videos before, but I think to some degree, even though there's already all those resources, I do think the kids would respond best if it is you doing the video. So that's why I'm gonna be going for it. Plus, I don't think it will really take that much time. And that can, if it helps them, that's ultimately what I'm after. So that's kind of an update too. I'm really excited. Honestly, like, I was nerding out so much on it. I went to bed, like, or at least tried to go to bed around like 12:30 last night. And I was honestly too excited thinking about flipping the classroom with the videos. I had to wake up and like stay up till 2 before I was sleepy. What? I have so many issues. But anyway, that's kind of an update with those kind of things. I'm gonna wrap up some stuff around the room and head out early because apparently this is our only true half day of the year where we get to leave early. All right, guys, so I am about to head out now. One final thing I wanted to say before I go. If you are a teacher and you use Twitter with your school, I am hosting a Twitter Ed chat on Wednesday, October 18th at 7 p.m. Central Time. I will put the links below with the hashtag to use if you're interested in joining. It should be fun. If you've never done an Ed chat before, I really enjoy them. It gets you thinking and communicating with other educators, and I have found them to be pretty fun so far. Obviously no pressure, but if it's something you think you'd be interested in, it'd be really cool to have you there and interact in that way. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you guys later. Bye.